What's up? Welcome back here to another edition of Intuitive Angling, and thank you very much for watching today's video. It's always appreciated. Know that everybody out there is really busy and there's a bunch of YouTube channels, so thanks for watching mine. Definitely grateful for that. Guys, today we're going to have sort of a wide-ranging discussion on how to catch fish without using technology. I want to get into this because I think there's a sort of a depression that has set into the majority of bass anglers across the country, that they just don't feel like they can, be successful unless they adopt technology, which is not true whatsoever. So we're going to get into that, and I'm going to give you guys some tips and advice on that. Also, guys, before we get started, I just want to invite everybody out there, if you haven't had a chance to subscribe to Intuitive Angling, to please do so, along with my other two channels, the Advanced Bass Fishing with Randy Blockett and the Fishing Teacher with Randy Blockett. If you guys would like to subscribe to those channels, that'd be much appreciated there. Okay, guys, let's talk a little bit about this. One of the things that I have noticed, and the communications I have with a lot of anglers, there is an overwhelming sense of people that have, they feel a little bit helpless in the fact that if they don't want to invest in technology or learn technology, or they don't agree with advancing technology, that it's difficult for them to catch fish and it's harder to catch fish. And I understand this because I'm in that group as well, because I know now when I go to a bass tournament, I know that, 20 years ago, I had just as good a chance as anyone to win a tournament, if I figured out the exact pattern and technique and lure that the fish were using at that particular time I was at the tournament. But now I know there's a tiny fraction of the tournaments that I even have a chance to get in the top 10 at, because I don't use Livescope. I refuse to do it. It's spotlighting. I don't think it's a legitimate way to catch fish, and I just refuse to do it. And a lot of people feel like that. So the point is what can you do if you don't want to go down that road, which a lot of people don't? First of all, here's the thing that you have to realize about bass, is like, bass are like people. Bass are individuals to a large degree. Some of them are school fish a little bit, but for the most part, they're individuals, and they sort of have their own unique personality as far as the areas they like to inhabit and the behaviors they exhibit out there. It's really fascinating if you study it a little bit. And given that, there are always a population of bass that live in shallow water around shallow targets pretty much all year long. Now, it may not be the best way to catch them, but you can always catch some fish, by targeting and focusing exclusively in shallow water, which you don't even need any electronics whatsoever. You could just visually sight fish or visually target fish for what I'm going to talk about here. So anyway, what I want to do is I sort of want to give you a foundation, just a quick foundation of, how to do this, out of the 4 different seasons of the year. At some point I may do a video, like an hour-long video on this on my Advanced Bass Fishing channel, but I sort of want to give you guys a foundational approach now. Okay, let's start out in the wintertime. It's like, how do you catch fish shallow in the wintertime without technology? The whole key on that, guys, is just fishing points. If the lake that you go to, I don't care if it's a natural lake, a man-made lake, or whatever, and if you just get out there in the wintertime and you focus 100% of your efforts on fishing main lake and secondary creek points, you're going to catch some bass. Bass live on points in the wintertime. And even if you don't have any electronics other than a flasher, you can still catch bass. All you have to do is fish that point in the depth in correlation with the water visibility you're at. So for example, if the lake you fish is a dirty lake and your water visibilities are like around 2 feet, obviously normally dirtier water lakes are not as productive in the winter, but they can be if they're down south a little bit. You're going to be fishing shallower on those points, less than 10 feet deep. If that water visibility is like, 3 to 4 feet deep, those fish, could be out 15, 20, 25, maybe 30 foot deep. And if the water visibility is like over 4 or 5 foot clarity, those fish may be suspended out there over 25 or 30 feet of water, and you can get out there and just fan cast a jerkbait or an A-rig or a crankbait or a football head jig around the points and catch some fish, even without having any type of technology out there. Now, moving into the springtime of the year, this is going to be your best time to catch them, because in the springtime of the year, there's more quality fish up shallow than any other time of the year, even the bigger fish. This is one time of year that you can hold your own with the high-tech anglers out there, just by fishing shallow targets. And it's basically just concentrating around the 3 phases of the spring, which is the pre-spawn, the spawn, and the post-spawn. Now, the pre-spawn is usually marked by when water temperatures are under 60 degrees. The spawn pretty much is when that water temperature is 60 to 70. And the post-spawn, or the immediate post-spawn, is when it's over 70 degrees. So there's actually 3 seasons within the spring season. And in all these situations, everything revolves around the spawning areas. When you're looking for pre-spawn fish, let's say, for example, you've got a good cove that fish spawn in the springtime of the year. In the pre-spawn, a little bit earlier, just back out of that cove, get on the nearest main lake bank to that cove, and start fishing the main lake bank leading into those coves a little bit. And as it gets closer to the spawn, just work your way back into the coves. And eventually, when that water's about 65 degrees, you should be fishing all the way back in the very back of the cove. And again, the same process happens during the post-spawn. As that water warms up past 70 degrees, those same fish that are spawning in the back of those coves are going to move out to the points of those coves and get back out into the main lake. So all you have to concentrate during the springtime of the year fishing shallow is fishing coves, and the banks close to coves is going to be really good. Now, the summertime of year, it's another good time for shallow water anglers. Even though a lot of people fish deep in the summer, there's always a bunch of shallow fish to be caught. First thing you want to do is fish early and late in the day with a topwater lure. Walking topwater, a buzzbait, a chugger is really good under low light conditions. Just fish them around any banks or points or around shallow cover that's got shade on them. And once you lose your shade during the daytime in the summertime, it really helps if you go to the stained water part of the lake. So in the summertime, whatever lake you're fishing across the country, and if you want to catch them shallow, try to identify where the dirtiest water is going to be, because that's where your biggest populations of shallow, low-tech fish are going to be. And this is when I like to fish, like up in the river part of the lake, in the back of the creeks, anywhere I can find that off-colored water, fishing whatever cover is available. If there's wood, I fish wood. If there's shallow grass, I fish grass. If there's rocks, I fish rock. But I'm looking for that dirtier water. And, something like pitching a creature bait, a square-bill crankbait is going to be at the top of my list in that situation. And in fall time of the year, again, there's still a lot of shallow fish up. There's a lot of different ways to catch them. In the fall time of the year, I'm always thinking about throwing a topwater bait all day long. From September to about the first part of December, guys, if you go fishing with me, I will have at least 2 to 3 topwater baits tied on. Some type of buzz bait, a walking bait, maybe a chugger or something like that. And I'm looking to catch those fish that are up moving shallow with that water cooling off. This is another good time of year to catch them on a spinnerbait. Spinnerbait fishing is great in the fall time of the year. Once that water temperature starts getting in the 60s, you can catch them around any shallow targets. You don't even necessarily have to have targets. You can catch them around windy points and banks. Anywhere there's wind pushing into a bank is going to be a good area. But the main thing, guys, is just don't get frustrated, don't get intimidated, don't get depressed about it, feel like you're getting left behind. Let those guys have it, guys, because I'm telling you right now, all those guys out there that are live scoping and fishing offshore, they're missing half of what bass fishing is. When you are target fishing and when you're close to the fish and you're intimate with the fish, and you have to really concentrate on casting angles and boat positioning and being stealthy like that, it's so much more rewarding. And a lot of those guys that are offshore live scopers, they miss out on that. So just buck the trend, resist it. You don't have to do it. You can still have a good time on the water. You can still catch a lot of fish out there. And just don't let the high-tech live scopers and that whole movement take away the fun that fishing really is meant to be. So hope it helps out, guys. We'll talk later.